Now, when we sit from 0 point and we bring ourselves back into the chair, it's important to understand that the very formation that I had when I was in 0 point, right here, and you're bringing yourself diagonal, and you're bringing yourself back, and you're bringing, as you bring in to feel yourself supported by the back of the chair, you create like a little circle around you in order to maintain or to still existing in a sense of 3 dimensions. Remember that the sense of 3 dimensions has to do with the relationship within yourself. So in this particular formation, when I rest back in the chair, I try just to go softly in my spine and not to keep the idea of being straight, because if I go straight, I'm going to start going like that back. You see, I overextend the spine, and then it's going to be places that it's going to create pressure right away, because in the moment that I overextend myself and I grab the skeleton, it's going to start creating pressures of discomfort. So the sitting back is called reclining 0 point. It's important because when we are on the sofa sometimes at home, when we are resting back from the bed and pillows, we need to begin to understand how we recline ourselves without closing. Closing will be if you start collapsing upon yourself, in which the energy begins to become self-enclosed into you, or if you begin to extend yourself too much, in which it reverberates to the other side. So reclining is just a part of 0 point as it was when you were pure vertical in the seated at 0 point. Yeah? So if I'm going back to 0 point, then as you practice, then the definition of your legs, the definition of your arms, the definition of 0 point will become much more quicker to you, much more immediate. It's like learning to ride a bicycle. When you learn to ride a bicycle, first you're going to fall, then you have to gather your balance, you have to gather momentum, and then all of a sudden you're riding the bicycle. The same with 0 point. First the definition, finding the places, and then, 0 point, here I am. Yeah? Beautiful. Once you begin to be in the placement of 0 point, you will begin to notice that gravity blesses you. It means that the center of gravity is the center of a space, and the skeleton is centralized by a space. The centralization of your being is the centralization of the space. It's not the grabbing of your skeleton. Your skeleton, as a matter of fact, extends because it is at the center of a spiral. So when you're at the center then, I'll suggest that in the beginning, you begin to go for the metrics. So you go crown, the top of the head, and if you want to, you can go as a gesture as well. Crown. Then the second one is the right and the left and the head, and top of the atlas, which is the top of the spine, the vertical top of the spine. The centralization of those 3, right and left, and crown, is actually the release of or what we call the third eye here. So your mind opens into here. Then the fourth center is the centralization of your throat, which is the release, extension between your neck and shoulders, right there. So this area begins to open. Yeah? Then the continuation of the metrics is the right and the left of your arms and shoulder. And remember that this is the centering of your arms. So you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 center at the center of your heart, right there. Then is the center of the solar plexus, which is right and at the center between the ribs, right there, which is the extension of your whole spine as a spiral form. Yeah? The spine is not extended like this. Okay? If I go like that, I go, and then I'm outside of the center of the space. So the center of a space is the center of the spiral from which I am in 6 directions of a space. I right and left, front and back, above and below. Yeah? So my arms are connected to the heart, and I'm spinning right and left, and then the solar plexus, and then I go in the hip, the right and the left of the hip. The right and the left of the hip are my legs connecting to the floor, and then the pelvic floor. The center of the right and the left of the hip is 1 inch below the belly button. So I have 7 centers within me. If I start below, I start the pelvic floor, that's the pelvis, which is 1 inch below the belly button. I have the solar plexus. I have my heart, which is the connection to my arms. I have the throat, which is the release of my neck. I have the head, which is the right and the left, centralizing on the third eye. This is the sixth center, and I have the crown. And if I start from above, I have the crown, I have the third eye, which is the right and the left and the head, I have the throat, I have the chest, I have the solar plexus, I have the pelvis and the pelvic floor. So it's good for you to go through all these directions, especially if you remember the centralization of the head is the center of space, the centralization of your heart has to do with all the directions of your arms, the centralization of your hip has to do with the directions of your legs. So it's good because you begin to become acquainted and you become present with the definition of your being inside of the matrix. Yeah? And then you spend a few seconds there, and then if you feel like it's time to move, you just move the energy, move back to the diagonal, bring yourself back into it, bring yourself through it, bring yourself into the folding. You can even cross your legs, or you can come closer to your legs far enough, and then you are back into resting. Right there. We would like to do now 0 point and the diagonal for you to see more the different stages of centering. I think it could be helpful because when you see it from the front, we may not see the different places in the space and the different alignments. So remember that we said 0 point is the center of symmetry between the right and the left and the legs, and a certain amount of opening. And then I said that an extreme will be coming closer to you, in which everything pushes forward in the spine. The centering is the most important aspect because then the sensation of the floor and the sensation of the chair passes and it gives you a vertical direction. If you come in closer, it destroys the vertical and it becomes horizontal, more horizontally bound. So centering is always passing through. Then if it gets too much far away, it's complex because then again you get pushed forward and you're losing the vertical. Yeah? When parallel is not good because it goes you around and contracts the solar plexus, and again you can't go vertical. Too open is comfortable, but then what happens is that you're using the lower area of the spine and the first vertebrae of the thoracic vertebra to sense yourself up, in which case you no longer are vertical, you're really going back. So this is comfortable because sometimes we experience comfortability by grabbing the skeleton. But the complexity is that after a few minutes, comfortability becomes discomfort and we have to move again. So the whole idea is to begin to understand that true centering doesn't have any place of grabbing. On the contrary, it releases everything to be engaged into one full relationship of 3 dimensions. In the beginning it's a little bit difficult because certain muscles, if we are in a little bit of imbalance, are not really connected, but then they will begin to connect and then everything will begin to become clear in your awareness. Yeah? So the first in your legs, too close, too forward, too parallel, too open. The same in your arms. Your arms, the centralization will be here. If you go too close, see it's good, but then I push in forward with the rib cage, which means that I'm sliding with the thoracic vertebra, sliding forward instead of allowing it to go vertical. Yeah? Then too far away, you know that it's not good because it creates a circle within you, and you want the arms and the shoulders to go right and left because that's the right and left that correspond to front and back and above and below. Yeah? And then the same as the head. Most of us innocently are thinking, okay, this is the extension of my head, but this is actually pushing back. So the centering of the head at the center of balance, right there. That's very, very, very good. So it's a way that you can begin to spend time in it. Now when you're here, it's good to think about being present with the center of space, being present in the 7 centers, being present in the matrix, being present in your hands. You can open your eyes if you want to, become acquainted to see from the center of space instead of seeing by going back to go forward, but to see from the center of space. So that's very, very important. And then if you move back, remember that you can just move with your legs and move into it. Okay? So I'm going to bring the chair around again, and I would like to show you a graphic to explain the different centerings one more time before we begin the practice of the movements. I would like to go again through the metrics, and I would like to show you a graphic. So you can see it in the graphic because you can see the transparency in it, And I'm going to ask Carolina, which is the divine angel that is filming us. And you can get to say hello to Carolina, which is wonderful. You get to see her many, many times. Hi. So this is the graphic of 0 point. And I would like to show you the metrics. You know already what it is. It's the pelvic floor, and the right and the left and the hips. And then the solar plexus, the right and the left and the shoulders. And then the throat, the right and the left and the head, and the crown. And the 7 centers are really actually the center between right and left and the hips at the center of the pelvis, where I said the belly 1 inch below the belly button. The right and the left in your arms and shoulders at the center of your heart. And the right and the left and the head at the center of your third eye, releasing the mind. Now, those are the 7 centers that I was saying to you: pelvic floor, pelvis, solar plexus, chest, throat, head, crown. And the practice is good for you to begin to learn it, like thinking about crown, head, throat, chest, solar plexus, pelvis, pelvic floor. Pelvic floor, pelvis, solar plexus, chest, throat, head, crown. Crown, head, throat, chest, solar plexus, pelvis, pelvic floor, pelvis, solar plexus, chest, throat, head, crown. So it becomes part like a circle, part of you. So then you begin to, your mind begins to support you in your awareness and what is that you're defining. Now remember that I said to you that the arms are centralized at the elbow, the wrist and the shoulder are centralizing the 3 segments of your arms, the hand, the lower arm and upper arm. And then as you find the length of your arms that correspond to 0 point, you understand that the centralization of the 3 segments of the arms. There's one missing here in each wrist. Wrist, elbow and shoulders correspond to the heart. So when you think about your heart, remember there are 6 centers. So either you count 7, including the heart, or 6 centers in your heart. And then you have 6 in the legs: the knee, the ankle, and the hip. The knee, the ankle, and the hip, and the hips. So if you're thinking about the totality of the centerings, you may think about it being 19 centers. The 7 centers plus 6 in your legs and 6 in your arms. In the beginning, all this may seem complex to you, but once you begin to define it and you begin to understand that the centering has to do also with the placement, which is the centering is the placement, then it becomes easy, because as I said, it becomes second nature for you. And in the degree that you become more and more acquainted with your centering, the quicker you become part of the center of space, and the quicker you begin to sense the fountain that always gives you fluidity, energy, and allows you to move in a space always in balance. Okay? So, thank you so much.